He walked into a run-down hospital for a routine visit, but when he saw the nurse and realized she was his college crush, he smiled, until her words hit him like a storm and changed everything. The hallways smelled of antiseptic and old paint. Flickering ceiling lights buzzed above as Liam Carter, 36, a successful architect known for building luxury homes, made his way through the narrow corridors of South Ridge Community Hospital. He was only there to see a structural issue in the pediatric wing, a quick assessment job he agreed to as a favor to a friend on the hospital board. But just as he turned the corner near the nurse's station, he stopped in his tracks. There she was, tying a child's shoe, hair tucked into a faded bun, wearing a plain blue scrub top and a worn ID badge that read, Sofia Bell, RN. Liam's heart skipped. Sofia Bell, his college crush, the girl he never had the courage to ask out, the one who always sat 2 rows ahead in architecture history, the one who smiled like she already knew what you were about to say. She stood up, and for a second, their eyes locked. And then, just like back in college, she smiled first. Liam Carter? He blinked, stunned. Sofia? Wow. Long time, she said warmly. He laughed, breathless. 15 years, maybe more. I didn't expect to see you here. Yeah, she said, her smile fading just slightly. Most people don't. He paused, glancing around. I always thought you'd end up running a private clinic, or teaching at some Ivy League hospital. She looked down. I had different plans, but life had its own. Before he could ask more, a call came over the intercom. She gave a gentle wave and disappeared through a nearby door. And Liam? He stood there, pulse racing. Because something about her tone, her eyes, told him there was more to her story than this hallway could hold. And whatever it was, he wasn't leaving until he knew. Liam stayed longer than he intended. He wandered through the pediatric wing, pretending to examine cracks in the ceiling, but his mind was nowhere near the architecture. It was stuck on Sofia, the woman who once dreamed bigger than anyone in their class, now moving quietly through a crumbling hospital like she was carrying the weight of the world on her back. He finally found her again in the break room, pouring lukewarm coffee into a paper cup. Still take it black? He asked gently, stepping in. She turned, surprised, but smiled. You remembered. He sat across from her. I also remember you turning down every internship to volunteer in community clinics. Some things don't change, she said, taking a sip. But something did, he pressed. Sofia, what happened? She hesitated, then placed her cup down and looked him in the eye. My dad got sick right after college, real sick. I got into Johns Hopkins for grad school, but the bills started piling up. My scholarship wouldn't cover everything, and I couldn't leave him. Liam's face softened. I'm sorry. I don't regret staying, she said quickly. I got to be there at the end, but after he passed, there was no money left, no more offers, no way back in. And this place? It was the only hospital that took me when I had a gap in my training, and honestly, these kids, they've become my world. She looked down, then added quietly. I used to think I'd save the world in labs and lecture halls. Now, I just try to keep the power on here another day. Liam felt a lump rising in his throat. He wasn't expecting this. He thought maybe she hit a detour. He didn't realize she had sacrificed everything. And yet, she still smiled with the same warmth, still poured her soul into strangers, still chose to serve instead of shine. You didn't lose your dream, he said softly. You just turned it into something braver. She blinked, taken aback. Most people don't say that. Most people don't see what I see. Liam stood slowly. You gave up the world for others. Now let someone bring it back to you. And though she didn't understand what he meant just yet, He did, because the man who once watched her from 2 rows behind was now ready to walk beside her. The next morning, Sofia arrived at work, like always, early, unnoticed, and ready for another day of doing too much with too little. But as she turned the corner into the lobby, she stopped dead in her tracks. The walls were no longer dull beige. The light fixtures? Replaced, the floors, clean, polished, and hanging above the check-in desk was a sleek new sign. Southridge Pediatric Wing, renovated with love by the Carter Foundation. Her heart skipped. Before she could react, Liam stepped out from behind a group of contractors, wearing a hard hat and holding a clipboard. "I had some time last night," he said casually. "Liam," her voice trembled. "What is this?" "The start of what this place, and you, deserve." She blinked, overwhelmed. "You did this? In one night?" "It's amazing what you can do when you call in every favor you're owed," he grinned. Then, softer, "I didn't do it for attention. I did it because you gave this place life, and it's time someone gave it back to you." Sofia took a shaky breath, emotion catching in her throat. "No one's ever shown up like this for me." "I should have done it 15 years ago," Liam said gently. "But I see you now, all of you, and I'm not leaving again." Later that week, the hospital hosted a small dedication ceremony. Nurses cried, parents clapped, children drew thank you signs in crayon. And Sofia stood quietly in the back, hand over her mouth, heart full. When the mayor asked to meet the donor, Liam pulled Sofia forward. "This hospital runs because of her," he said, eyes never leaving hers. "I'm just the guy who finally caught up to the woman he admired all along." That night, as they sat on the hospital rooftop, sharing takeout and watching the city lights flicker below, Sofia turned to him. "You didn't just fix a building, Liam. You reminded me that I matter, not just here, but out there, too." He smiled. "You always did, Sofia. The rest of us are just finally noticing." And in that moment, with stars above and the hum of healed hallways below, they both realized this wasn't just a reconnection. It was the beginning of something they never had the courage to start. Until now, in the months that followed, Southridge Community Hospital became something no one ever thought it could be. A beacon. More funding came in. New equipment arrived. The waiting list for pediatric care went from 2 weeks to 2 days. And at the heart of it all was Sofia. No longer just a nurse in fading scrubs, but now the official director of pediatric outreach, thanks to a proposal quietly pushed forward by Liam and unanimously approved by the board. But it wasn't just her title that changed. It was the way people looked at her now, with respect. The way her old students came back to visit. The way children clung to her in hallways like she was home. And the way Liam never stopped looking at her. Like she was still the girl 2 rows ahead. Only now he had the courage to walk beside her. One evening, after a long day of rounds and paperwork, Sofia returned to her office to find a small envelope taped to her desk. Inside, a folded note written in Liam's familiar, neat handwriting. "You once healed strangers with nothing but kindness. Now let me spend the rest of my life making sure the world never forgets that. Dinner at 7, rooftop, same view, new chapter." She climbed the stairs, heart pounding. The rooftop was lit with soft string lights and a small table for 2. Liam stood waiting, a single sunflower in his hand. Her favorite, which he somehow remembered after all those years. "I'm not asking to rewrite the past," he said as she approached. "I'm asking if you'll help me build the future." Tears welled in her eyes. "I never stopped believing in good men," she whispered. "I just didn't think one would ever come back for me." He stepped closer, gently taking her hand. "I didn't come back for you, Sofia. I finally realized I never should have left. A photo later appeared in a local magazine article titled, "The Love That Rebuilt a Hospital." It showed Sofia in her white coat, laughing with a child, and Liam standing just behind her, hands in pockets, eyes on her, like she was the greatest thing he'd ever built. And beneath the photo was a quote from Sofia. "You don't always end up with your college crush, but sometimes, if you're lucky enough, he becomes the man who helps rebuild your dream."